There he is. Man, he looks serious on there.
Holy shit. Boris looks like he's been in training.
Ah, it looks like he's getting ready to fight somebody.
Don't fight me.
Hey, boys.
What's up, man?
Oh, not too much. Let me get some light on my face here. This is the money maker, right?
Yeah, the
No,
church.
the money maker's that big snake that you got between your legs.
You're in our faces.
If it was, I'd be poor.
Do what?
I said, if it was, I'd be poor.
Oh,
No,
okay.
come on now.
Hey, you're shredded now, so I can tell. So it makes your dick look longer, width and length. So you're 2 for 2.
Yeah, I finally actually learned how to eat, believe it or not.
Oh, just now?
Yeah, all these years, you know, you do all whatever, the fads and this and that, and no carbs. And a buddy of mine, actually my first match ever. Well, if you want, we can talk about it on air and stuff.
Yeah, go ahead. We're recording already. We don't plan shit.
Yeah.
We don't go through shit. We don't prep shit. We don't even really talk about wrestling. So just
go
for it.
My buddy Rico Montana, who was my first match ever, he turns out he's like a master nutritionist. And I was talking to Josh Alexander from Impact, and he's getting lean and he's ripped. And I'm like, what have you been doing? You know, and anyway, he mentioned my buddy Rico Montana. I go, wait a second, I know Rico Montana. That's my buddy. And he goes, yeah, he wrote me a diet. A few other guys that are looking good, he wrote them a diet. So it's like an extensive interview. You know, how many times a week you're training, basically even the number of sets, reps. He needs to know all that, your stress levels, age, what you want from it. He takes it back, calculates whatever, and gives you about 15 different meals. And says, wow. So you have 4 meals a day, 7 days a week. I eat at 8 o'clock, noon, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And he goes, just all the 15 meals have equal nutrition. So it goes, you know, you'll find you kind of gravitate towards 6. You know, I got the eggs and oatmeal every morning. I'll have a shake somewhere. So I got 2 meals to play around with, either a chicken breast meal, a ground turkey meal, or whatever it is. But damn, man, you feel... I knew I had a problem with my blood sugar because of all the no carbs and fasting and all that stuff. God forbid I had anything with sugar in it. I'm going to pass out at the wheel, you know? So it stabilized my blood sugar. I'm losing fat, not any strength. And I feel great, man.
Wait a second. You're saying fasting is not good? Is that what you're saying? I do that every once.
He broke it down. The fasting thing, it's really hard on your kidneys.
Oh, shit.
It was something to do with either like stopping the protein and then all of a sudden, boom, all the protein. Fasting is good for other things. It's just really hard on your kidneys. But the whole no carb thing was like what a rib that was too, right? So now, but you have to eat clean. So it's all clean food, like baked potato, chicken breast, an avocado, that kind of stuff. But clean sources of each. So you got to have fats in every meal, carbs in every meal, and clean protein in every meal. And when you have the right balance, it's incredible, man. That's honest to God. I look for, and I'm always eating, and they're huge meals. So I'm not craving any sweets. Like before, come the weekend, I used to go ballistic, you know, and ice cream and whatever.
Yeah, man.
But because I'm having carbs all day, I'm not craving them as much. So yeah, it feels good.
Well, that's all we need to know. Let's end this show right now, Rip, and go make us some food. How about it?
I make one. We open up. There's one. I see him 1 second, and I can tell by your jawline, your fucking traps, and everything else. I said, he's fucking shredded.
Yeah. Well, also, so one thing we did a year and a half ago, we moved up to the country. Mm-hmm. And the reason we bought this particular house is because I had a shop, like a separate building. The guy built a 1,000 square foot garage. And we converted that into a gym. And I was going to do I do a little personal training kind of part-time gimmick from the house. And especially because COVID, all the gyms shut down. And I go, this is something I can do private, one-on-one, you know. I have a couple clients. It's not something I push. It's not the way I survive or anything. But the byproduct is we have a wicked gym. And we train, you know, I get in there, do my cardio every morning. My cousin comes at night. We lift weights. So I'm training like twice a day and just training smart. And yeah, I feel great. I feel like shit. I wish I was this dedicated and eating right back in my 30s. Never mind, I'm almost 50, you know?
Yeah, I think we're you're about 40. I'm 48. I thought we were about
Yeah.
the same age. Something.
Yeah.
Prime of life, baby.
74.
As Rip Boy says, prime of life. No matter how old you are, you're in the prime of life.
But you know what's funny? I tell people, I've been in the prime of my life for 30 fucking years at minimum. Because when I was 17 years old, I got my man strength, and I remember I won the Ontario Judo Championships, like seniors, and I was just a kid that no one could beat, And now I go grapple these guys. They're in their 20s, and they can't touch me still. I'm like, what? I must be in my prime. And I don't. I mean, obviously, there's guys that are really good out there, but I don't know.
Hey, welcome to Lilas Studios. We got former WWE Superstar Santino Marella, aka OVW Superstar Boris. Did you have a last name there? I don't even know what.
Well, first it was Boris Koloff, and then it was Boris Alexiev. I'm the greatest. Just ask me, I'll tell you.
The greatest ever, baby. I'm not good at big introductions. I hardly ever introduce anybody, but I thought I would halfway through the show get that in. So.
Oh yeah, thank you.
We obviously don't do a lot of prep. We don't talk a lot of wrestling, but I do like to ask different things. Like first, I'm a big first guy, and then that kind of gets us going here. What was your OVW was not your first training center? Where was your very first school that you went to?
Yeah, so,
as far as wrestling goes, I know you did. You'd mentioned you did some other things too, but
yeah. So when I wrestled I wrestled high school and university, and a guy on my university wrestling team. He told me his dad was a professional wrestler. And I was like, what? His name was Don Koloff. And he had a school. And at the time, it was in Woodbridge, Ontario. And it was a very small school. He almost kind of didn't really accept even students. There's only a couple guys there. It wasn't your typical school by any means. Coach was like I don't know, gangster type old retired guy, so it was kind of like a place to hang out and
wrestle
and wrestle, but I was there doing in the beginning, so one of our guys was a world-class sambo fighter. I was a judo guy. We had wrestling guys, and we're just grappling, we're just teaching our various sports. I always look over in the ring, and there were two guys training at the time. Al Barone was one. He was there. And awesome. And the pit boss, Phil, and they're both 350-pound guys, 6 foot whatever, and I'm like, oh man, I'm too small, right? It wouldn't work. And then one day I was pointing to a picture on the wall of Owen Hart, because Coach was mentioning how he was in Calgary and he helped Owen Hart win the provincial championships in Alberta for amateur wrestling. I think it was high school. And I was like, he said, yeah, he's your size. I'm like, what? Hold on, what? Owen Hart's my size? Like, I thought I was too small to do this. He's like, no, you can gain some weight, try and get about to 220, 230. And he's like, but that's the same size. And I'm like, oh my God, if my size is not an obstacle or a barrier, then, I think I'd be pretty good at this. And so I trained at UFO was the name of the school. But at the time, I'll be honest, I was a little messed up back then, in 1998. It was not a good year for me to be, I didn't have the right mindset or discipline. So I actually wrote my coach a letter, and I delivered the letter under the gym door and said, hey, it's Anthony. I got to straighten my life out a little bit. And I said, when the time is right, I'm going to dedicate myself like I know how to, and, do this 1,000%. And I want to be very good at this, It took a couple of years. I think I got my life in order somewhere, 2000, 2001. Like, okay, I'm ready. And I started training in 2002 because that unit, so the original unit in Woodbridge, the owner sold the building.
Okay.
So they're like, they didn't want a gym in there. So Coach had to find a new building. So he found this one. It took like over a year, I think. It was an old Taekwondo school that had closed down. It was a good facility. It didn't require a lot of changes. Had a locker room, had some bags, had some mats and stuff. So he modified it to fit us. And then finally we had a school. So I trained there for I think a year. And then Rico Montana spoke up for me and talked to a guy named Chris Drury from Ring Wars. Said there's a guy So I was Johnny Giobosco, and that was my first match.
Nice. I never knew that.
Yeah, my first. I think even when I first started OVW, my first couple of amateur classes was Johnny Giobosco too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's funny. So coach is he's from Bulgaria, and he's world class. He was a national champion, so he went to the worlds and all. I mean, he's like one of the toughest. We can swear a little bit on this show.
Oh, sure. It's a ripped show, man. What do you think?
Okay. One of the toughest motherfuckers you can ever imagine. Like super strong, killer mentality. Even to this day, 73, his neck's like this. His nose is like, you wouldn't mess with him today. So I can imagine. And he came over, he defected. So someone told him, if you want to get out of Bulgaria, he was communist at the time, you got to become the national champion in amateur wrestling. And then you get to go to tournaments in Italy and France. And this was his way out. So he trained like an animal. And I saw a picture of him once. He was at a labor camp. He was 18 years old, and they sent off all the kids to a labor camp for the summer. And it's this big black and white picture of all these kids. And one kid's just jacked, he's probably like 190 pounds. And all the other kids are like 140, 150. He's just a beast, a stud, just a stud.
Yeah.
And so he made it out, man. He was national champion, went to a tournament in Paris, and I believe it was Paris. And him and some other guys made a pact. Like, let's get out of here. Some of them chickened out. Coach didn't. And, you can make a movie about his life, how he came to Canada, how he survived in Europe. He had to steal food. And then he thought it was like an MMA thing. Some guy said it's professional wrestling. So he's showing up. I'm going to kill these guys, And he gets there and he sees like an arm twister, or whatever you call it, top wrist lock. And he's like, "What the hell is that? That's not even wrestling." And but still, he was there, and he got he trained and he wrestled all over, and
that's awesome.
It's pretty good, actually. I've seen some matches on YouTube of Coach. He was very athletic, and he didn't have the personality to be a big top guy or face, but he was a very good hand. So to speak.
So from there you went to OVW, right? Was that your next?
Yeah. So I had my first 6 matches, and I'm like, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, I mean, no one's seeing this. Like I'm 29 years old.
Oh, no shit, really?
Yeah. So I'm like, I got to get myself in front of some eyes, right?
Yeah, we were about to say, that's about when I was getting started too. So
oh, you're late.
Obviously,
too, yeah.
I was like, I don't know, 27 when I started, but you had done some stuff before, obviously. But so you came though to OVW. You weren't under contract then, right? You just came there.
So, but in between that and was Japan.
Oh, it was?
So,
okay.
Yeah. So the only connection we had at the time was Big George, and Big George had been wrestling in Japan for Battle Arts and 0-1. So I called him and said, "Hey, man, I got to make something happen pronto, right? I got a child." Mm-hmm. Oh, he knows Big George. Yeah,
I know Big George, but I didn't know that was the connection. I didn't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he was training at. So the crazy story with Big George is that there's a guy named George K. And George K sent the VHS tape to Japan. He wanted to fight in like K1 or Pride, and the guy, his training partner in those videos was Big George, and the Japanese like monsters. And they said, we'll take that guy. And he fought in an MMA fight in Japan, never had a fight. He was in the Tokyo Dome, 60,000 people. And Big George took an MMA fight. And then they said, you have potential for pro wrestling, but we want you to train with Yuki Ishikawa. And so he was there for a year. And then so he just called him and said, "Hey, I'm going to send over my buddy. He's a judo guy." And so I went to Japan for a year. I was going to go for a couple of years, I had to sit my daughter down and explain, Daddy's going to go on a mission and accomplish something, and be patient, but it'll be worth it. And over we went. And then I overstayed one of my tourist visas by like whatever, even if it's one day, it was like 6 days. And I was banned for 5 years. And the one guy at customs gave me the Iggy, and normally they don't. He was, "Look, if you keep a low profile till December 1st, the law is changing for the first time I even whisper it now. He's in 100 years. No, in 100 years, it's going to change. You'll only be banned for 1 year. So whatever law is in place at the time that you leave, that's what applies to you." So I kept a low profile, didn't get in any trouble, and I left after, and it was in December somewhere, and I was banned for a year. So now I'm like, what the hell am I going to do now? I had an apartment, I had a scooter, I was doing extra work for acting. I had a life over there, you know?
Yeah.
And I came to OVW.
Wow.
So this is like New Year's, like, you know, the holidays, Christmas holidays, and I came down to Louisville.
Let me stop you real quick. OVW because of George or because like developmental was there? Why? How did
developmental was there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't even know God. I called Julie and I was like, "Can I audition for your company?" And she's like, "It's not really like that." So then I learned this.
It's like bring your money, man.
Yeah, intermediate class, advanced class, and the advanced class is also the contracted class. So I said, okay, I'm going to work my way to that class, and then I'll have an opportunity to be in front of some eyes that can make some decisions. And I showed up, man, drove down in my Hyundai Accent, and I was in Mondo's class it took I think about a month. And then I graduated to Mr. Rogers' class, and that was the bulk of my time there was in that class, and the bulk of my learning was in that class, and then I became over prepared.
That was into the new building, right? That was in Louisville.
Davis Arena, yeah, on Shepherdsville Road.
Yeah, in Louisville, yeah, because I couldn't remember. Before that was at the Jeffersonville, the old building.
Oh yeah, no, this is in Louisville, yeah.
You were in Louisville the whole time. So what do you think when you arrived there? Like Mondo's class, like you remember people in Mondo's class? Did anybody make it out of Mondo's class with you that you remember?
I think Aaron Lamada and JTG and guys, there was a bunch. Cornbread was in that class, and a lot of memorable. There's some big guys, and then there was Snake and Tony Mann. They were my generation too. And then Mario and Chess came down and Rip's class. Got Serena, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of Armando Alejandro Estrada was in that class. Quite a few guys, and then Johnny Punch and Melody and like White Power Brent. You know, he was.
It seems like we would have had been
It's a nickname.
Seems like we would have had to been in a class together at some point in time. I can't remember if we ever were.
You would come in for the shows and stuff. So you had already been taught by the time I got there.
Like those homecoming shows
class,
and stuff.
Yeah, the amateur classes. It was the return of the big Von Lilas with at the amateur class. And what was the guy? Oh, Shadow. Shadow
was sold all the tickets. Shadow that's worked at the
Cheddar's or something.
Like a steakhouse or something.
Yeah. I remember he'd buy them all.
All the tickets?
Yeah, he'd buy them.
Mm-hmm. But then I came back later, probably once WWE left, then I started coming to Rip's class all the time. Then when he opened up like DCW and doing OVW after WWE went to Florida. So I was probably before you and after you, really.
Okay, yeah. That's about.
But I do remember coming down, for those amateur shows. That's probably where we first met and all that kind of stuff. Who was your first match with there? You remember?
The first match, because I would go to all the advanced, developmental class shows, and I'd help out with the ring. And I think Sando or Aaron Stevens spoke up for me, and I had my first kind of match with him on like the OVW the house shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But in class, oh gosh.
Oh, I wouldn't expect you to remember that.
It was tag. A tag team match. I remember the first guy I gave the salute headbutt to was Pat Buck.
Really? That is awesome.
Yeah. So when Rip popped, when I did the headbutt, so I said, okay, I'm keeping it.
Keeping that for good. Well, give us some impressions on Rip. Getting into Rip's class, what was that like for you? What'd you think of Rip? Like,
I loved it. You know, I grew up in judo, and I grew up with real coaches, like no participation ribbons, shut the fuck up, do the work. I thrive well in that environment. I had a football coach that if you make a mistake, he's in your face and don't you ever like that. And no problem. That never happened again. And my sensei was old school and would beat us. And I just responded well to it. And also everything just made sense. I remember I'd be sleeping in my I wake up in the night going, bing, oh my God, I got a little piece. Like it just came to me. And, when you're there, you have to be completely immersed, right, in everything. And we'd go to LAC and we'd have the DVD players on the cardio equipment. So I'm watching wrestling while doing my hour of cardio. I come home, and it was just before like everyone had DVDs. So we were trading VHS tapes still, watching everything. And then the more I learned, the more I could watch with a different lens and go, okay, I get it. I just kept getting it more and more and more. And it was good. And my daughter would come and she'd sit up in the bleachers and she'd have her earmuffs on. And
hey, congrats on that, by the way. Her getting signed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. She told me years later that she could hear those earmuffs weren't really blocking the sound.
Awesome.
I mean,
Rip, you got any stories? First meeting, anything in class? You got any?
I'm just listening.
Hot takes on Santino?
No, I'm just listening to the stories and what was going through their minds when they come in from a different world and the situations they went in. Everybody's got a different story, but they all got the passion for goddamn fucking wrestling. It's just so fucking unique. Just fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it was my first time living in America.
Yeah.
So it was a culture shock. I think moving to Louisville was more of a culture shock than moving to Japan.
Oh, really?
To be honest, I've never seen 500-pound people at Walmart and all kind of stuff, and people driving with broken cars, like missing fenders, and the level of poverty was, I've never seen that in my life. Like people have plywood in their windows, and some of the areas downtown. And also Canada is like a cultural mosaic, right? And I grew up in an area where everyone came from Europe. So we don't have as many Black people or Mexican people. And if we do, they're from like the Caribbean or something like that. So, but not like our histories are pretty different, And
I remember, you remember Seth Skyfire?
Yeah.
I remember we were doing a show in Seymour. And he was in my car. I was driving or something. That's where I'm from, or Rip's from. And we were, I can't remember going out to the Armory or somewhere. And we had seen
Mellencamp too, right?
Mellencamp. Yeah.
Mellencamp,
yeah. And we had seen some like cows or pigs or something. And he was like, I think it was Seth. He was like, that's the first time I've ever seen a cow. Like
what?
In my or a pig or something. I can't remember what it was. Some farm animal. So he never seen one before.
Oh wow.
Not quite the same lines of Louisville, but you know what I mean? Like just seeing shit you never seen before. So how long were you in OVW before you got signed?
Oh, that's a good question. So I got there May 2005, and I got the call, I believe it was July or August 2006.
Oh, that's not very long.
You know what? I'd come to the morning classes, and often there was just two of us in Rip. And then I come to our class, I go to LAC, and at the end of my time, I was in Al's class too. And I burnt out once or twice, and I started getting sick, and I was just training too much. But I'm not away from my family to fucking waste time. I was 30. I got down there at 31 years old. So I got signed at 32, and I debuted at 33. And so every year I start training 28, first match 29, 30 Japan, 31 OVW, and I knew I didn't have time. I was 5'10". Apparently I'm shrinking now, but I didn't have a second to waste, man. Because if I wasted a second, I felt the window doing this.
Yeah,
I felt it, and I had to make it happen fast. So I just tried to absorb everything, and the one quality I had that I was just something about when I get into character, it's real. It comes out as a real person. Nobody questioned Boris. Well, the Boris wasn't a real Russian guy. you know, people, I would just be in character, you know, and I mean, the people in class obviously knew, but I mean, any fan, if I never broke kayfabe, there was not a doubt in their mind that Boris was a Russian guy.
Yeah.
People to this day still can't believe that when they hear me speak normally that I'm not Santino. Like, what the hell happened to his accent? They can't believe it. So,
I knew you beforehand, and I can't believe it. So,
so there's something. I have some knack to make people believe that it's a real person in there and a real character. So
no, I thought it was awesome. We'll get to that, and just I want to know about the day you got either the call or was it in person where you got the offer of a contract. Like who gave it to you? Who talked to you about it? Surely you remember that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I think we were doing a morning class. I think it was Al Snow's class, and Danny Davis gave me a nod. Just have a nice day, Boris. Have a nice day. And I was like, I'm like, don't fuck with me, please, because for people that don't know, I couldn't work in the United States. I'm Canadian, so I was living off my savings, and I had a sponsorship from Muscle Tech that gave me some protein. And the bank account was just going down and down and down and down. And my mom works at the bank, and she's like, "Hey, you know what's happening down there? You know, your account's getting low." I'm like, "Mom, you know they say it's coming, man. They say it's coming. They say just be patient. Something's happening. They're taking notice." Because when I started on OVW TV, I wasn't signed. I was like the only unsigned guy at the time on OVW TV. Paul Heyman came to one of our Rips classes and was sitting up where the camera is there, and he was watching me do something in the ring. And he caught me in the parking lot and said, "Hey, I got this idea. I want to do this Russian shoot fighting gimmick." But, you know, because Boris Koloff was still like a little bit funny. He was still, there's some comedy in there. And he just wanted to do,
serious,
you know, serious, more MMA and more shit kicker and all that stuff. So I was on OVW TV, and I heard, you know, some rumblings that stuff was happening. But anyway, my bank hit zero. I had to cash in some retirement savings plans, and I had to borrow $400 from my mom to pay rent. And she's nervous, right? And I had to just tell her that I had no choice. I had to have faith, and I had to hold on, you know. And then, so anyway, Danny said, you know, have a nice day. And then I got a call later on from Mike Bucci, who was in talent relations at the time. And, "Hey, Boris, that's Nova. And question for you. How would you like to work for WWE?" And I tried to pronounce the perfect yes, like, yes. Like I didn't want to make a mistake. You know, I said the word as clear as possible. And then I had to go home while they got my visa. So, it was 2 or 3 months I had to wait for the visa, but it was returning home like,
yeah,
you know. And very few times in life can I remember getting off a phone call and giving and just letting it out.
Give me cold chills, man.
Out. Yeah, because honestly, that my mom lent me that $400, and again, I'm 32 years old.
Yeah,
so like I'm thinking, shit, I'm gonna have to go home. If it doesn't, you know, God forbid something didn't happen, back to my parents' basement, back to fucking being a bouncer in clubs and trying to reformulate another game plan to figure this out. And a lot of people are like, "Wow, man, congratulations, you accomplished your dream." I said, "Yeah, that's accomplishing the dream. That's cool. Avoiding a disaster, that's way better, you know." And that's what happened. And I tell people, like, when you're a tightrope walker, you are focused. You're getting to the other side. Nothing's going to distract you. And then when you get to the other side, you can look back and say, "Oh shit! If I fell, I would have died. Like that would have been a bad fall, you know." But during that walk, you don't think like that. And I was there wasn't a doubt in my mind. There just was not a doubt in my mind.
Now, the other part of that is getting signed is awesome, but it doesn't always guarantee you, you know, a good run or tons of money or whatever. How did they send you back into OVW? How long were you back there before you got?
So I came back down, I think it was November. And then so November, December, then we had the holidays. And then April, I got called up in April. And so Fearless Jack Bull, do you remember Fearless Jack Bull?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dusty Rhodes called him and asked him if he could ride a motorcycle. And Fearless Jack Bull thought it was a rib. He thought it was somebody doing a Dusty impression. So he's like, nope. He's like, well, can you learn to ride a motorcycle? Nope. And the Dusty Rhodes is like, well, okay, talk to you later. And then he sees the 203 area code on the phone and shits himself.
Oh, my.
So we had, Dusty Rhodes came down because Cody was there at the time and was talking to the class. And then he said, where's Jack Bull? Jack Bull put his hand up. They had a chuckle about it. And Dusty said, if they ever ask you if you can do anything, you say yes. The answer is yes. And then you better figure it out, right? Like
Rip has always said that same thing. Rip told us every class all the time. Can you do this? Yes.
Yes.
Every single time.
So Nova called me and he's like, Boris, you're really Italian, right? Yep. Can you speak Italian? Yep. And he said, well, can you say some stuff in Italian? I'm here. You're on speakerphone. I got some writers and producers.
Holy shit.
And I said, sure. I said, vorrei un mezzo chilo di formaggio, which means I would like to buy a half kilo of cheese. And they go, okay. Can you say anything else? I said, sure. Mi chiamo Antonio Carelli, which means my name is Anthony Carelli. And I could hear them going, I don't know. That sounds good. Okay.
So you really did know some. I was under the impression maybe you didn't. But that's it though. Like
the reason I knew that because I had a cassette tape. It's here somewhere, and I used to listen to it in rush hour traffic over and over. So it's a tourist Italian tape. So if you want to buy a half kilo of cheese in the market, you know what to say. So that's why it was such a random sentence. It's like, where's the hotel? Is there a toilet in my room? Can I buy a kilo of cheese? And so they flew me out the next day. They go, okay, so we're sending you your passport. You're going to fly out the next day to Milan. So I go to Chapters or Borders, whatever the bookstore is in the States. Borders, probably. Yeah. So I bought like an 8 DVD Italian set, and I went to Manbeast's house, and he put them all. he put it all on my iPod. And then the whole flight there, I'm just drinking espressos and listening to all this Italian, trying to absorb, like I'm trying to learn a language in 8 hours. And luckily at that time, I didn't have to speak much Italian, right? I said my name and but the next day I was on ECW and I had to do a little bit of a little promo in Italian. And I was so hungover from the night before. I won the Intercontinental Championship. We're up till 6, 7 in the morning in the bar. Everyone was trying to get me drunk. So I forgot my promo. But another little Dusty Rhodes trick was if you ever forget your lines, just get caught up with emotion. So I stopped and went like this and did this thing, and they go, "Oh, look at that! He's getting choked up." And then I remembered enough.
Forgot my lines.
Yeah. I remembered enough of the promo to get to finish it and do the old wave like to signify it's over. And funny though, that's the only time I ever forgot a promo. Was the second day on the job.
I remember watching that match, man. I was really surprised that you won. I thought they might do the gimmick for him a long time or something, and then have somebody. I think you had suggested that maybe, or not you necessarily losing, but if he would have lost, like or won, it was Umaga, right? Wasn't it Umaga?
Umaga, yeah.
If Umaga would have done that, let's say like 6 weeks in a row and beat somebody every time, and then they got to you,
yes,
and then put you over,
they rushed the angle. They needed they needed the storytelling, and him to be killing 6 guys. Then Santino hits the fucking upset. Holy shit!
It was so funny because when I watch it back once in a while. The debut, if I'm going to show somebody, I say, you want to see it? Okay, let's go on YouTube. And I can see the moment that, because people to this day, they didn't know what happened, right? Like, was that real? Did this guy come out of the audience? Because there's a moment, and I narrowed it down to the moment where I get the people. When Vince is in the ring, goes, that guy that guy right there, let him in the ring. And I'm looking at the security guard, and I'm like, you talking to me? Or I'm looking, I point to the guy beside me. Is it that guy? Who's it? Me? Are you sure? And the way I did that, it looked like I really didn't know what was happening.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the guy, he's talking to me, and and that made everybody believe like that it was real, you know. And obviously Bobby Lashley helped, and you know, some people are a little smart to the business, but we put that doubt in their mind, like, what the fuck just happened here? Because
what was Vince's reaction afterward? Did he talk to you about it?
He loved it. Well, I met him that day for the first time, and this was Vince's idea. The whole angle was his idea.
Okay.
I don't know if the numbers were down in Italy and he wanted someone to come out, a local hero to bring the numbers back up or whatever it was, but it was his idea. Because I remember I said to Nova, I'm like, what's going to happen with Boris? And he's like, forget Boris. This is Vince's idea. I'm like, God, but Boris is, I love Boris. He got me here, you know?
I mean, what are you thinking at that time, man? Coming right up and winning the IC title.
You know what? I was
were you nervous as shit, or were you just were you over prepared?
Yeah, because I've never been on live TV.
Yeah.
And no, but I was saying that to myself as I'm pacing. You are prepared for this. You are prepared for this. You're over prepared. You can do anything. And I'm saying, like, you know, this is what you want. Like, don't be afraid that you're reaching the finish line. This is the goal. Right. So if this is the goal, why are you getting afraid that you're reaching the goal? It makes no sense, right? And I've never been such a good wrestler as I was when I was in Rip's class in OVW. I felt like I can wrestle anyone in the world, man, for just as long as I wanted. I was a wrestling machine, and
and you did.
And I'm not like I was so much better then, and then once you get into your trademark stuff, your patented stuff, they want to see your stuff, and you end up using such a small percentage of what you're capable of, but that's what they want to see. But yeah, I could have did anything, whatever role they could have gave me, I would have hit a home run. Any pitch coming to the plate was a home run. I was prepared.
Good job, Rip.
Man, I'm tearing up here listening to this. Every time we have somebody on there, they all bring a different story, but they all have the same emotion. They all have the same passion. It's just it's fucking lovely, mate.
Yeah, it was a life-changing moment, not just for me, for my whole family, you know?
I tell you what, man, it's been, we only got a couple minutes left, but I didn't know. I mean, I knew the story kind of, but I didn't know the story and, you know, where you came from and where you were almost to be. Like you said, it's great getting there, but what you're leaving is failure. You know what I mean? Being broke, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome, man. I'm super happy it turned out the way it did. I used to tell APOC, I don't remember Victor APOC.
Yeah.
Like, I always told him, I was like, man, because we were partners for a long time, and when he finally got signed, I said, I would rather you get signed than me. Like he left like and dropped out of high school, and you know he'd been doing this 15 years trying to make it. I would have traded him any second of the day. So I love listening to stories like that. I just think it's awesome, man.
And
it's an interesting thing when you get signed and you leave some very capable friends behind who are not signed and didn't get signed, but you know they were just as good as you, and there's a little bit of guilt there sometimes too.
Oh, that's not what I mean, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But hey, anything you want to plug? Twitter, website, anything you got? We got about a minute 30 left.
Battle Arts Academy. That's
nobody watches our show, but you know, if you want.
Well, I tell you, this is how much I learned. So let's say I remembered 70% of what Rip taught me, and that's enough to be a coach myself, you know. So I'm a coach now, and I try and find that blend of classic storytelling with, you know, the contemporary. I think the audience is a little more savvy these days with their grappling knowledge. So I'm trying to mesh it and blend it and try and continue the restoration of the quality of wrestling that's out there, because there's a lot of just garbage, as you know.
Anything to add, Rip?
Yeah, you need to bring me out there for a seminar.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I have partners now, and they want to bring you down.
Do you live like 2 hours? Is it an hour or 2 hours from the school? I remember
hour and a half now.
Hour and a half. Okay, I knew it was a long way. You got to fucking go to get there.
I'm coaching tonight. I got to leave later on, and yeah, it's we got chickens.
Nice. All right, man. This thing's gonna round out any second now. We usually get cut off right in the middle. So
freeze up or
No, it don't get.
thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, boys. Thank you so much.
It was good.